This is the Uptick Newswire Stock Day podcast, sponsored by InvestorsHangout.com and Equities.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube to stay up to date on penny stock news and interviews, public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world. With your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, I'm bringing you a brand new company that I found on my radar about 3 months ago. And I'll tell you what, I'm super excited to have him on the show because I think they're on the cutting edge of something here. We're talking no other than XORTX Therapeutics, Inc. They trade on the CSE up there in Canada on the ticker symbol XRX. They also trade on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol XRTXF. And with us today is the CEO and president and founder of the company. We're very fortunate to have him, is Mr. Alan Davidoff. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be on the show and happy to present the XORTX story to your listeners.
Give us a little bit about statement about the company, and then I want to get into the Q&A.
Yeah, you bet. So we're a company focused on developing two therapies for progressive kidney disease. There are very few therapeutic options out there right now that are approved by the FDA. Our focus is on two areas: polycystic kidney disease, which is an orphan, so a rare disease. There are approximately 120,000 folks or so who might benefit from our therapy. And then with regard to the second therapy, much larger market, it's the diabetes market, and our focus is to develop a therapy to decrease the progress of kidney disease in folks with type 2 diabetic nephropathy. We've got two advanced programs covered under patents, granted U.S. patents or existing patent applications, and so we're moving very quickly. One might be surprised, that actually, given our market cap, at how quickly we're moving. We're poised in the next 10 months to initiate a pivotal trial, a registration trial for polycystic kidney disease based on FDA meetings in the fall of last year, and recently signed a co-development deal with a major Japanese pharma company to bring in a new molecule that we think is a next-generation molecule for treating folks with diabetes and progressive kidney disease.
Do you believe that XORTX will redefine the treatment for progressive kidney disease? And what is at the heart of your transformation and your thought process of that statement?
Yeah, well, let me begin by mentioning that at present there are very few therapeutic options available to treat progressive kidney disease. And this is an especially big problem, an epidemic, if you will, because the sheer number of patients affected is enormous. Progressive kidney disease in the U.S. counts about 25 million individuals. There's nearly 200 million worldwide. Not a lot of options for treatment. We think we have a therapy that can affect progressive kidney disease in a positive way, and that's impactful. So for the 11 million individuals in the U.S. who really have no therapeutic options, or the 5% of all individuals with progressive kidney disease due to polycystic kidney disease, there's really good clinical trial evidence that suggests that we're dead on track and continues to validate what our patents cover. So we think we're positioned now with these advanced clinical trial programs to be able to really jump into the market in what's an extraordinarily rapid pace, and be able to help folks with the polycystic kidney disease program, for example, probably within 4 years or so.
In March, you came out with a press release saying that you're going to do a phase 2B clinical trial. That being said, what is the different types of progressive kidney diseases described in those two programs that you guys are going to, in the future, do?
Yeah, so our two promising clinical programs are, as I mentioned, in polycystic kidney disease. That's our principal program at present. We think that that's a program best suited by developing a unique formulation of a drug called oxypurinol. Now, the interesting thing about oxypurinol is it's highly de-risked. It was developed as a replacement for a gout drug called allopurinol in the early 2000s. It received an approvable letter from the FDA and wasn't developed much further than that. So there's a very nice drug that the FDA has considered safe and effective. We have a new patent covering that unique formulation. It allows more drug to effectively be absorbed by patients, and that increases the range over which we can dose. That is very helpful because given the fact that we know how to manufacture it well, that we know it has a safe clinical record and a safe effectiveness record, it's ideal to plug into an orphan or a rare disease and move that along quickly. So right now we're in the preparation stage for that phase 3 registration trial. We anticipate that that'll lead to a marketing application and approval once that trial is done. And that's backed by some quite nice peer-reviewed clinical studies that have been published recently that suggest that lowering uric acid in patients with polycystic kidney disease has a high probability of slowing the progress of their kidney disease, and not just in a small way, but in a substantial and clinically meaningful way. So you're pretty pleased with that program and pretty pleased to be moving forward with that program.
Alan, recently you received some good news from the U.S. FDA on a couple of fronts. One regarding the APT-KD study. The other one, significance of the orphan drug designation and the acceleration development it seems to have found with the FDA. Usually other companies that come on my show, they usually call it fast track. What are your thoughts on these two fronts?
Right. So we worked early last year on putting together 3 sets of documents: a IND package that led to a meeting with the FDA, an orphan drug designation, and the very beginnings of what we hope will be a grant package. Those packages, those data packages, allowed us to present comprehensive data to the FDA, and we went in taking a conservative approach, basically suggesting a path that would include a phase 2 trial and a phase 3 trial. The outcome of the meeting with the FDA was very positive. Their comfort with the oxypurinol drug and the oxypurinol formulation was such that we could move into a single pivotal trial that would then lead to an NDA application and approval. We think that trial will extend over a period of about 2 years of patient treatment, and that should, if we reproduce what's already been shown, give us the data required to get approval for that orphan disease. Now, the orphan disease designation is interesting. Orphan drug designation are development programs that have a status that's been set up basically by the federal government to promote development of drugs to treat individuals with rare diseases. In the case of ADP-KD patients, this is an ideal situation. This is a large but rare disease, and certainly there are very few treatment options for these folks, and anything you can do to delay or even reverse the decline in their filtering capacity of their kidneys is going to be very beneficial. In fact, effectively, the data looks like we can buy years of healthy kidneys and years of life off of dialysis, which is a huge improvement and really redefines the kidney disease treatment space. So, lucrative opportunity in the ADP-KD orphan drug space. There's also an opportunity potentially for non-dilutive funding, which is part of the orphan drug status, and we'll be pursuing that as we go forward. So it may become a surprisingly inexpensive area to develop in if everything goes according to plan.
Can you take myself and my listeners through the economics of each of the studies, costs, market value for each, and how big can this drug be that you guys are trying to implement? Yeah,
I'd be happy to. So the two programs are polycystic kidney disease. That's our lead program. We're developing a novel formulation of oxypurinol for that purpose. It fits nicely in the orphan drug space because it's got additional layers of protection that come with that orphan drug designation. We think there's about 120,000 to 150,000 patients in the U.S. right now who may benefit. Typically for orphan drugs, you can charge somewhere between $25,000 to $45,000 per patient per year, and when you do the math, That gives you an estimate of peak sales somewhere around 1.8 billion per year in the U.S. Now, in Europe, unlike the U.S., the protection is 10 years versus 7. So we anticipate that a similarly sized market is available there, and certainly around the rest of the world, the market is about equal. So when you add up the various jurisdictions for that polycystic kidney disease program using the oxypurinol formulation, it's a very nice available market that allows us to be first in class. And then with regard to our second program, which is under the granted U.S. patent, that claims using all uric acid lowering agents to treat diabetic nephropathy, so very broad. The co-development deal we signed with Teijin Pharma in Japan is important because it allows us to bring in a highly potent next generation class of xanthine oxidase inhibitor. That's a large market, 10 million patients or so, virtually unserved except for blood pressure lowering drugs. And so, again, a first-in-class opportunity with what we believe will be best-in-class right through 2034. And that's the patent life for that molecule.
And that's for the TMX-049?
That's the TMX-049, that's right. So that's a xanthine oxidoreductase inhibitor. Our estimates, so, in conjunction with some much more granular estimates with Teijin, suggests a U.S. market of about $2.4 billion per year over a 12-year product life. When you start to add up what Europe and what the rest of the world would contribute, we're in the blockbuster range. So another very large unmet medical need that we think we have a very good opportunity to develop into, and certainly with the fast track for polycystic kidney disease, that's a real bonus because it puts us in that range more quickly than one would expect. Now, these two opportunities are interesting, and certainly the polycystic kidney disease is interesting because we've had a tremendous amount of outreach from specialty pharma companies around the globe interested in licensing this product for their jurisdictions. And in fact, we've had a couple of preliminary offers for various regions, Canada, smaller European country, Japan, Korea, etc. So we expect as we approach the start of that phase 3 trial, there will be somewhat of a pull where companies are looking to have input on the phase 3 registration trial, and so have marketing claims coming out of that trial that may be beneficial for their separate jurisdictions. So there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that may be additionally beneficial given those large markets and the large opportunity that lies ahead.
Alan, I want to thank you for coming on the show. In closing, is there anything that we didn't get a chance to talk about that you would like to illustrate to my listeners?
Well, if you look at where we are today, we have very advanced clinical programs. We have a substantial patent portfolio that covers the area, and we really see ourselves as growing towards a NASDAQ uplisting in the near future. That sets us up nicely for market cap comparables for late-stage NASDAQ-listed companies that are much, much higher than where we are today. So looking for very positive things in the future.
I want to thank you for coming on the show. You've been listening to the president and founder of the company and CEO, Alan Davidoff, XORTX Therapeutics. You can find them on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol XRTXF. Also, if you're up in Canada, they're under the CSE under the ticker symbol XRX. Alan, thank you so much for coming on the show. I wish you nothing but the best. Hopefully you'll come back on in about 50 days and give us an update.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for the invitation.
This program is entirely sponsored and produced by Uptick Newswire, LLC, which is responsible for the content. The opinions and information provided on this program are those of the guests and those of the respective companies they represent, and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff or management of Uptick Newswire. Uptick Newswire encourages all listeners of this program to do their due diligence and research when determining investment strategies that will work for them, or to seek the assistance of an investment professional. The guests of this program may have paid for its distribution and are not directly affiliated with Uptick Newswire or this station.